I want to call the Committee of Senate Education and Health to order. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. This morning, I'm going to just kind of deviate a bit. I'm going to just go with the one bill that we have that's similar to Senator McClellan's bill, and that's House Bill 2086. And this should be a very simple bill. It's already passed the House 98-0, and the child care provider background checks portability. If I could get a motion on that bill, we could dispense with that one. It's been moved and seconded House Bill 2086 be reported. All in favor of that motion, please record your vote, yea or nay. Clerk, close roll.
Ayes 11, no 0.
Ayes 11, no 0. The bill is reported. Because we know we have committee chairs that have other issues to take care of, I want Senator Locke to give her committee report first. And I know Delegate McQuinn is on the queue, and she is going to have to chair a committee. And so when I start the bills, I want to take her first, and then we'll go back in order.
Okay, thank you,
Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Senator Locke.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. We had 3 bills in the Higher Ed Subcommittee, beginning with H. Bill 1930 from Delegate Aird. This bill prohibits each public institution of higher education, with the exception of VMI, from utilizing an institution-specific admissions application that contains questions about the criminal history of an applicant, or denying admission to an applicant on the basis of any criminal history information provided by the applicant on any third-party admissions application accepted by the institution. The bill does permit each public institution of higher education to inquire into the criminal history of an individual who has been admitted to the institution but has yet to enroll at the institution, and withdraw an offer of admission to any individual whom the institution subsequently determines to have a criminal history that poses a threat to the institution's community. We did have individuals to testify on this particular bill at the committee's meeting. And after that public testimony, it was recommended that the bill be reported with an amendment, and I do move the amendment.
You've heard the question about the amendment. All in favor of agreeing to the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those nays have the same right. Amendment passes. Senator Locke.
Okay, and with that amendment, we recommended that the bill be reported as amended on a motion of 3-1. And I do move that.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported as amended. That is House Bill 1930. All in favor of that motion, please designate on the electronic voting panel.
Ayes 8, noes 3.
Ayes 8, noes 3. The bill as amended is reported. Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill we heard was House Bill 1980 from Delegate Reed. This bill establishes the Enslaved Ancestors College Access Scholarship and Memorial Program, specifically for the institutions of Longwood, University of Virginia, Virginia Commonwealth University, and VMI, the College of William and Mary, starting with the 2022-2023 academic year, and with any source of funds other than state funds or tuition or fee increases, and where annually they will identify and memorialize to the extent possible all enslaved individuals who labored on former and current institutionally controlled grounds and property, and provide a tangible benefit such as a college scholarship or community-based economic development program for individuals or specific communities with a demonstrated historical connection to slavery that will empower families to be lifted up out of the cycle of poverty. And after public testimony, it was recommended that House Bill 1980 be reported on a vote of 4-0, and I so move.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, I don't know if it's a question to the chair. I think the Senate of Virginia has done the right thing in that we have set up more and more needs-based scholarship. We have led the way. The House has not. We are doing the right thing. They do not. And I'm proud of that. It just seems to me that it's going to be very difficult to identify who these individuals are after multi-generations. You know, I guess there's two ways to do it. One is needs-based and also helping the historically black colleges, which I think the Senate has also done, and others too. But this just seems like it is very specific, and I know doesn't appear to be state money now, but I guess if we have to choose, one way I think would be better, and that is that if an individual is well off, despite their background, they don't necessarily need to get these funds as opposed to those that are needs-based. So that's probably more of a comment.
Any other comments by members of the committee? Senator Locke? I think we had a motion.
Yes, the motion is to report.
And I know we got a second. The motion is to report House Bill 1980. All in favor of that motion, please so designate on the electronic voting panel. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 11, noes 3.
Ayes 11, noes 3. The bill is reported. Senator Locke, you have one more bill in your subcommittee?
Where am I?
Is that 2120?
Oh, yes, 2120. Madam Chair, this bill comes from Delegate King, and this bill requires the governing board of each public institution of higher education to establish and maintain on the institution's website a listing of all board members, including the name of the governor who made each appointment and the date of each appointment. And this is basically a bill designed to provide, a listing of all committees created by the board and the membership of each committee, a schedule of all upcoming meetings of the full board and its committees, and instructions for the public to access such meetings, an archive of agendas and supporting materials. And after public testimony, the committee recommended that that HB 2020 be recommended for reporting on a vote of 4-0, and I so move.
It's been moved. Second. And seconded. House Bill 2021 be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate. Nays have the same right. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill is reported. Thank you, Senator Locke, for that report. I'd like to now turn to Delegate McQuinn and hear her bill, and that is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair, to you. I know you have a committee that you have to chair, so we want to take you out of order and let you go take care of your committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for accommodating me. Yes, I have House Bill 2019.
House Bill 2019 on page 3. Turn your attention to House Bill 2019. Go right ahead, Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the members of the committee. Madam Chair, House Bill 2019 would require all public schools to stock albuterol in the event of an emergency for treating a student experiencing an asthma attack. As we know, children, well, not probably now, but children spend the most of their time or the majority of their day at school, and there are a number of reasons why they may not have an inhaler while they're there. Across the state, the United States, more than 6.1 million children suffer from asthma, which is a leading chronic disease among the pediatric population. And as of 2016, more than 129,000 Virginian children were reported to live with the condition. The numbers are rising, particularly as a result of COVID-19. So this will become even a greater challenge for families across this Commonwealth. And so this bill would actually, again, ask that schools would stock albuterol in the event of an emergency. Last year, we did pass something to look at this. And so there's already a structure that is set up. this would just require and asking that the bill last year permitted schools to stock a butyrol and set the structure up. This bill now requires them to stock it. And so I hope it be the will of the committee to look favorably upon this particular on House Bill 2019, again, to address this particular issue. It really is a matter of life and death. And I am one who have been personally affected, as I have, matter of fact, 2 grandkids with asthma, and one that it is really a serious and chronic situation that she deals with. And so it may be spurred on at any time. One of the other things that we are dealing with across the Commonwealth is so many schools that are older, and certainly the environment can trigger something like that. Poor air quality, mold, poor ventilation can trigger that at any time. So thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe there are individuals who may be in the queue who wanted to speak to this particular issue.
Well, the bill has already been heard in subcommittee. So what we'd like to do to move the agenda along this morning is hear from members of the committee, and if not, I'd entertain a motion.
Ready to report.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. Clerk, open the roll.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this bill did have a substitute that was adopted in subcommittee.
Delegate McQuinn?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, we're gonna need to go back and redo that motion because there was a subcommittee. I mean, in the subcommittee, there was an amendment that was made to the bill.
Madam Chair, I withdraw my previous motion. I move that the substitute be adopted.
It's been moved and properly second that the substitute be adopted. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Okay, now we'll entertain a motion on the bill with the substitute. It's been moved and second that the bill be reported as amended, but the substitute be reported. All in favor, please designate. Thank you. Close the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1, the bill is reported. Have a good day, Madam Chair.
You too. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Okay, we're going to go back in order now. We've heard from, the next committee report is going to come from Public Education Subcommittee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first bill that we have is on page 2, HB 1736, and this is patroned by Delegate Donna Adams. And this bill asks that any individual who provides nursing services in a public elementary or secondary school is prohibited from using the title of school nurse unless that individual is actually a registered nurse who possesses an active license to practice in the Commonwealth. So it's a change in the title designation based on the license of the individual who is in the school. And I believe the delegate is here to speak briefly to the bill, if the chair would permit.
Good morning, Delegate Adams.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning to you. Yes, go right ahead, please.
Yes, thank you so much. HB 1736 designates that a registered nurse is as a school nurse in public schools. The change of the bill is purely definitional, but this does not preclude others from providing health services in designated health centers or require the hiring of registered nurses, but they may not call themselves a school nurse. The reason for the designating registered nurse as school nurse comes from the regulatory authority and the experience and education of registered nurses who possess post-secondary education in nursing, and by law, only registered nurses can make professional nursing assessments, which is becoming increasingly essential with these chronic health conditions such as asthma and diabetes type 1. And students need that health advice, guidance, and treatment, as well as the adjustments and treatments that can only be offered by a registered nurse or registered nurse supervision. Already in this session, this chamber has passed a number of bills, such as Senator Donovan's SB 1307, that are concerned with the increased needs for care in schools, a trend that existed long before the pandemic, but has only become more relevant in the recent months. And as we grow our expectations of care in school, it's important that we have a transparent framework for how that care is provided. To be clear, again, the bill would not require schools to employ RNs. The school superintendents and school boards associated have stated that not all schools are able to hire RNs because of funding and workforce shortages. This bill just simply clarifies who's delivering school health services. And so,
Thank you, Delegate Adams.
Thank you.
I think we pretty much have the essence of the bill, and this bill is is required to go to finance.
Madam Chairman.
has no
Senator Cosgrove?
Thank you. Madam Chairman, Delegate Adams, your bill specifically calls out registered nurses, and we all know there's a critical shortage of RNs in the Commonwealth. Is there some reason why an LPN could not fit into the same definition as a school nurse?
Madam Chair, Senator, absolutely there is. And so what is really important to understand is that the law states that an LPN cannot function in the role of an LPN without supervision. So when we're talking about building services, right now, school nurses can hardly do anything, but they're being expected to pick up, more and more tasks. So what's important is to realize that we never have to have a registered nurse in every school, but we need to have the infrastructure that says this is the school nurse, this is an RN, this is what they can do, so that if you hire LPNs or you have health attendants that are parents, what have you, there's somebody who's supervising that structure, and it's very clear and transparent who that person is. And that is a structure that has not existed in schools.
Does that satisfy your question, Senator Cosgrove?
Well, it's an answer anyway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson?
and I apologize, I'm just reading the summary here. We call people different things. For example, we call people professor, they may not have a PhD. We call people teacher, they may not be licensed as a teacher. What's the harm? I mean, we're going to have people oftentimes functioning in elementary schools that are not RNs, and they may have some training. They may be an LPN, they may not be. Is there a harm in having them referred to as a school nurse? I mean, is this a truth in advertising thing? What's the harm in calling them the school nurse?
Madam Chair, Senator, I believe it is a truth in advertising. And what's really problematic is that some parents believe that there's a school nurse at their school, when in truth, they're just a neighbor who's given up their time to volunteer. And so the expectation, it really ups the expectation, which is potentially dangerous.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Adams. Senator Newman?
Madam Chair, as I'm reading the bill, it doesn't appear that if you're an overly trained, more trained nurse practitioner, that you're able to hold this position. Madam Chair, are those people that are more trained than a registered nurse now going to be prohibited from being called a school nurse?
Madam Chair, Senator, that's a great question, because I think there's so much misinformation about what nurses do. Nurse practitioners are registered nurses, therefore they would be qualified.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman?
I don't know if the gentlelady's correct. My wife is a registered nurse, and there are others that have moved on and no longer are a registered nurse. Instead, they're a nurse practitioner, and I fear that the bill might have an upside difficulty and a downside difficulty, where a nurse practitioner who has given up, they're no longer certified by the Commonwealth as a registered nurse, but a nurse practitioner, because they're overqualified, can't be a school nurse. And then if you have someone that Craig County, Virginia needs that may be under, maybe. So I guess that's my struggle, is that we have a problem on the upside and we have a problem potentially on the downside.
Any other commentary from any members of the committee?
Madam Chair, please.
Delegate Adams.
I actually have a doctorate in nursing, and I'm a university professor in health policy. Let me assure the senator that you cannot be licensed as a nurse practitioner without a concomitant license as a registered nurse. So I just want to be clear. We as nurse practitioners don't want to be called registered nurses because of our extended education and training, but we are still registered nurses and must be a registered nurse in order to be a nurse practitioner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome. May I entertain a motion on the bill?
A substitute motion, Madam Chair.
Substitute motion.
Madam Chair, the subcommittee recommends reporting on a vote of 3-0 with re-refer to finance, and I so move.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please so designate on the electronic voting panel.
Ayes 6, noes 8.
Ayes 6, noes 8. The bill is not reported.
Madam Chair, move to PVI.
The bill
Mis-
has failed.
Mr. President, Madam Chair, I just withdraw the motion. We'll just leave it here.
Thank you, Delegate Adams. Senator Hashmi?
Thank you,
complete your
Madam
report.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 1823, patroned by Delegate Askew, requires that public schools and child day programs all install a carbon monoxide detector in each classroom, requires that every building that was built before 2015 do so in every classroom so that we can prevent tragic situations. We did hear from community members who indicated serious issues when their children were affected by carbon monoxide poisoning. And unless there's any questions from the committee members for the delegate, the subcommittee did recommend reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 1823 be reported. All in favor of that motion, so designate.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. The bill is reported. Thank you. Senator Hashmi.
The next bill is HB 1838, patroned by Delegate Reed, and this is asking for staggered terms to the Loudoun County School Board. It enables the Loudoun County School Board to stagger the terms of its members at the upcoming November election. At the November election that immediately precedes the end of the board's term, and then moving forward with staggered terms. Again, unless there's any questions for the patron, the subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved properly second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate on the electronic voting board.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, and the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
The next bill is HB 1865, patroned by Delegate Delaney, and this is a bill that we have seen in one form or another in the previous session. We've been reassured, peace in the valley now between the reading specialist as well as the advocacy groups, primarily Decoding Dyslexia, and it is requiring for early intervention in readings and diagnostics so that we can identify and assist our youngest students so that they are better able to progress academically, especially in identifying their concerns around reading issues. Again, if there's no questions for the patron, the subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate on the electronic voting panel. Noes have the same right.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
The next bill is HB 1901, patroned by Delegate Subramaniam, and this is...
Senator Hashmi, I have 1909.
I'm sorry, what did I say? I meant 1909.
Okay.
My apologies. And this is the establishment of a gun-free zone around allowing the school board to deem non-school zone property that it owns or leases as a gun-free zone, and also prohibits individuals from possessing, purchasing, transferring, carrying, storing, or transporting firearms or ammunitions in this property unless those individuals are law enforcement officers or qualified retired law enforcement officers. In the subcommittee, we heard testimony that supported the bill, and if I recollect correctly, no one spoke in opposition to the bill. The subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 4-1. If there are any questions, I believe the patron is available to answer.
Madam Chairman. Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Looking at the bill, you know, when people come in and want to do developments. A lot of times they proffer property to be set aside as a site for a future school, that type
Absolutely.
of thing. And it may be years before actually any development happens, on that site for any number of reasons, whether it's the economy or drainage or wetlands impacts or whatever. I guess I'd ask the question, does this bill allow the schools to say you can't have a gun on this property that's out in the country, even though there's nothing there?
Madam Chair, Delegate Subramaniam here. I can answer that. This only applies to properties that the school board owns and leases. So if they do own the property, they could, but it's really up to the school board. This is a local option. So if the school board feels like it's necessary to do that, it could, but it doesn't need to or have to.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Senator Peterson?
I guess right now under state law, you can't bring a gun under school property. That's state law. If you have non-school property, I'm just trying to envision what would a non-school property owned by the school board, what are we talking about?
Madam Chair, I would tell the senator he makes a good point. He's correct that school properties can be and are gun-free zones, but I'll give you an example. In Loudoun County here, Loudoun County School Board asked me to put in the bill in part because they want to be able to regulate how firearms are treated during their own school board meetings in their administrative building. They own their own administrative building, but they're not able to set the policies for their own administrative building because no law like this is in place. Last year, this body passed legislation allowing localities, like boards of supervisors, to set their own policies for their own buildings.
Yes.
But council, let us know that that did not extend to school boards. And so that's why this.
Can I suggest a friendly amendment then, Madam Chair?
Senator Peterson?
I have no problem that administrative buildings, if they want to designate it as a gun-free zone, just like we passed last year with city councils or county boards, I have no problem with that. I do have a little bit of an issue if a school board just buys a random property, it's a vacant lot, and then passes an ordinance saying it's a gun-free zone and someone just happens to have a gun. I mean, that to me is not what this law is supposed to be about. So I think we need to limit this to administrative buildings, and, as opposed to just any owned property, which is a non-school property.
Madam Chair, if I could respond.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the senator does. I agree with the senator that that's not the intent. I will say though that part of the reason this extends to leased properties. So, for example, football games where a school district wants to be able to, feels like they need to regulate firearms there in order to keep kids safe during the game. They might lease a football stadium, like George Mason's or someone else's. And they want to be able to set the policies for that. That might be a reason why that amendment may not fit in. But I don't know if the senator disagrees with that.
I'm hearing a lot of murmuring going on in the background. So if any of the members of the committee would like to be heard from,
Madam Chair,
please let me know. Senator Peterson,
first of all, I want to thank the delegate for my longtime support of a football stadium at George Mason University, which is yet to come to fruition. I just think at this point, and maybe this is going to be a work in progress, I feel like the language in this bill right now is too broad. Administrative buildings, I totally agree with. Leasing stadiums, again, they're privately owned. If you enter a lease contract, the landlord, you can always ask for a term in a lease contract. You don't need the state legislature to do that for you. I would prefer at this point to just narrow this to administrative buildings, and maybe we can work on this as we move forward. I couldn't agree to this. It's just too broad.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Donovan?
So just point of clarification with Senator Peterson. Are you saying administrative buildings that they own to narrow that scope? Because in committee they talked about lease.
Right. I would say administrative buildings that they own or lease. I understand they might lease a property. And then I completely understand the security concern. So I would say administrative buildings that they own or lease. And I'll make that amendment.
It's been moved and second that the bill be amended to include own or lease. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Noes have the same right? Okay, the bill is amended. Now we're back to the bill in its amended state.
And I've moved to report it as amended, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 1909 be reported as amended. All in favor of that motion, please so designate. Ayes, noes have the same right. Close the roll.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, noes 6. The bill is reported as amended. Senator
Thank you, ma'am.
LaHashmi, you have one more bill?
We have an extensive docket, so
Okay.
the next bill is HB 2013, patroned by Delegate Rome, and this bill requires that each school board adopt a policy that prohibits the board from filing a lawsuit against a student or the student's parents because the student cannot pay for a meal at school or owes a school meal debt. So it prevents school board from taking legal action in order to recoup any debt or money that is owed to the school. The delegate is here to answer any questions, should the committee have any questions, but we did recommend reporting on a vote of 4-1, and I so move.
It's been moved and second.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Senator Edwards.
Yeah, does this ever happen? The school board?
Yes.
Tell me how that's happened. If Delegate
Madam
Rome or
Chair?
somebody can tell me. It's pretty
Madam
outrageous. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So, Madam Chair, yes, we have had instances where we saw, for example, last year, and in the spirit of not shaming localities or anyone, I won't mention a name, but we had one local school board who actually literally put on their social media site that they were going to threaten to sue parents over unpaid school meal debt. And we have found, my team has found that there are 27 school districts throughout Virginia that have stated policies that they will take parents or 18-year-old students to court over unpaid school meal debt, whereas more than 100 don't have that policy. And so there are so many ways to prevent them from having to go into court in the first place. We passed legislation last year. So I just, I'll be happy to elaborate if you'd like, Madam Chair.
I think that's response enough. I think it's fairly clear.
Madam Chair, I just have one question of the patron.
Senator Peake?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Delegate Rome, my only concern, if you do this, is there anything to prevent school districts from not extending credit to students for lunch so that if they can't sue for past, they just will not allow a student to get lunch? Or can they do that?
Madam Chair, because of the bill that we passed last year, HB 1426, we have the General Assembly, as a matter of policy, has prohibited alternative meals from being served to students, and anything other than a full nutritious breakfast and full nutritious lunch cannot be served to a student. And the law, as it states currently, says that any student who wants that, regardless of ability to pay, shall be able, to grant that meal. And the reason that we do that is we never, ever take punishment, in this case, out on a child for wanting to be fed in school. Where you have a, income issue with the parents, you have a financial issue with the parents, you deal with the parents in that case. You do not take it out on that child in school.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, just a question, I guess, to the patron. If an individual student is not in need, in other words, I don't know how it's defined in need here, but just determines that he's going to get lunch every day and not pay for it, even though maybe he had a packed lunch or otherwise, does this mean, despite the fact that the parents may be well off, that there is nothing that can be done, or is there a means test on poverty or something like that in the bill?
So, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would tell the senator in this case that schools have a number of options in terms of how they can pursue unpaid school meal debt in this case. And number one, just to begin with, the very concept of school meal debt should not exist. I hope just that as a general philosophy, we all agree on that. And right now, because of the USDA's waiver, there is no school meal debt because we have universal school meals through the end of June. And I would like to see that federal policy actually continue indefinitely. Now, that said, what I would tell the senator in this case is, number one, as the bill that we passed last year specifically stated, they can use a third-party governmental, so it has to be, basically from the school board, from the government, as opposed to a private collector. They can use a, a debt collector from their own, a governmental debt collector in order to pursue those unpaid payments. That's number one. Number two is, even though we have passed other anti-shaming provisions, in this case related directly to the distribution of food, they can still, even though I would prefer they not to do this, but they can still restrict different activities like going on field trips or going to a prom, going to a dance, whatever, to a student who has those unpaid school meal debts. Again, not something I support, but they are allowed to do it under current law because that has not been included in these anti-shaming mechanisms that we've also provided. And the last thing that I would mention in this is that what we have found in Prince William County, for example, is that 15% of the school meal debt that we've seen accrued has actually come from students who are on reduced meal plans. So we do know that people who are on reduced plans do accrue school meal debt, and the other folks very often qualify for free and reduced meals, but they've never actually signed up on the application, which is why we passed a bill a couple of years ago so that you would have that application front facing in a prominent place on every school district website in the state. Now, all of that said, there are a lot of different ways that you can go about collecting that money that don't involve the ultimate form of school meal shaming, which is dragging a family, dragging a student and their parent into a court of law in order to get a decree against them. That to me is so severe, and that's why I filed the bill.
Thank you, Delegate Rome. I'm glad you filed the bill as well. Any other questions of the patron? But could I please entertain a motion while all this other conversation is going on over here? It's been moved.
Second.
And second, that the bill be reported. All in favor, please say aye on your voting board, and noes have the same right. Thank you. Close the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. The bill is reported. Thank you, Delegate Rome, for bringing that bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be back with one more.
Madam Chair, Delegate Rome has another bill, and I'd like to skip to page 5 and
yes, Delegate Rome.
I'll take up HB 2135.
HB 2135 is before the committee. Delegate Rome.
Madam Chair, if I may present the bill.
Committee. Go ahead. Senator Hosmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 2135 is requiring that school boards provide students the students that qualify for free and reduced price meals, offer them after school meal as well, should they be participating in any programs that are requiring the student to stay after school. And this bill does have a delayed effective date of July 1, 2022. And again, if there are any questions for the delegate, she is here to answer, but the committee did recommend for a reporting on a vote of 3-2, and I so move.
It's been moved. Second. And second, that the bill be reported. Any questions from any members of the committee? Hearing none.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
I'm trying to read the summary here. What is this? And I mean, obviously there was opposition. What are the issues here?
It's an after-school feeding program. It's like the wraparound program that you have, very much similar to Head Start programs. But I'd like for the delegate to come in and explain the bill.
Thank you,
Madam Chair. I'll be happy to, with your permission.
Yes, go right ahead, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Madam Chair, basically what happens is that right now there's a federal program that we refer to as the Federal After School Meals Program.
That's it.
And so basically this is provided, it's specifically targeted in high poverty areas. And so or areas where you do have a lot of students who are on free and reduced meals in the first place. And so what the bill does here is it says that you've got to have that after school enrichment program, and at the same time, because that's part of what qualifies here. But we also very, very much support in this legislation existing after school meal programs or existing partnerships, right now that basically we want to encourage those after school activities so that students who are, whether they are playing sports, whether they're, have an after school academic exercise, whatever it is, that food is going to be prevalent, it's going to be available for them, because this is a federally funded program to begin with. So it's certainly not an unfunded mandate. We are literally saying there's money on the table. Please take this money for us to do this.
Exactly.
And it provides food for children.
Thank you, Delegate Rome. I had oversight for a program like that when I was Head Start, executive director of the STOP organization. They had a Head Start program, and it did provide meals for a lot of kids who were at risk in their communities. And so I thank you for bringing the bill. Senator Hodgman, or is any other member of the committee have any questions of the patron or any commentary?
Madam Chair.
Senator Howell?
I guess this is commentary, but I doubt there is a single school in this Commonwealth that doesn't have some students who are on free and reduced lunch. But this bill is only for those that have 50% or more of their students on free and reduced lunch. So I think this is an important step, but I do view it as a first step.
Yes, exactly. And just to make sure that everybody understands, this bill is very much like the wraparound program that you have with the Head Start program, which is a federally funded program as well. Any other comments from members of the committee? Senator Donovan.
Madam Chairman, just to comment, just to advocate for my locality, the one exception to the value of this is localities that have already set up after-school programs from the community that are more cost-effective than going through this process. So it's a different way to get to the same solution. And I believe, and I'll ask the patron again, I believe that this bill has an exception for them so that they can continue with that program because they've already found a solution before this that is more economical.
That is
Madam
correct.
Chair.
That's correct, but I'll let the patron respond.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would tell the senator that yes, that's correct. And as we discussed in subcommittee, when you go to read the text of the bill, we specifically mentioned that in there because we very, very much want to encourage existing programs that are doing it right to keep on going. Because why should we penalize any of the senators, local school districts for taking the initiative to do the right thing? And so one of the sections I would just point you to here is in section C, where it says, nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit any school in the local school division from applying to the department to participate in the program if that school offers after-school programs that provide organized, and it's numbers 1, 2, and 3, if you'd like to read it.
Thank you, Delegate Roman. And that information did come out of the subcommittee. Am I not correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Hodgman, I think there's a motion on the floor.
Move to recommend reporting.
And I think there was a second by Senator Howell. It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting House Bill 2135, please report on the electronic voting panel.
Zaslav, vote for me. Vote me yes, please.
Yes, sir. Your vote will be noted.
Thank you.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Thank you so much for bringing that bill, Delegate Rome.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and
It's
members
going to
of the
help a
committee.
lot of
15
people
y'all.
and a lot of people in the communities that I represent. Thank you so much. Senator Hodgman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill, if we can go back to page 4, is HB 2027, patroned by Delegate Coiner. And this is the standards of learning assessments for reading and math. It is a measurement of individual student growth, and it's requiring our Board of Education to establish, in the place of just a one-time end-of-year assessment, to measure student growth through staggered assessment processes. First, at least one assessment at the beginning of the year, at least one at the end of the year, and be better able to track our individual students and their ability, their growth in skills and knowledge and abilities. This bill is similar to SB 1357, patroned by Senator Donovan, but not quite identical. We did, in the committee, ask Senator Donovan to work with the delegate to reconcile the two bills or to come to some agreement, and I would ask Senator Donovan to address what the results of that conversation might be.
Senator Donovan.
I believe that there are some line amendments that are available today, and you want me to explain those differences? Is that correct, or you want to move the amendments?
I would like for staff to explain it to me, please.
Okay.
Madam Chair, there are 3 line amendments to the bill that will make it identical to the senator's bill on the House side currently. On line 93, after beginning of year, we're going to insert one mid-year. On line 267, after the word "the," we're going to strike 2024 to 2025 and insert 2022 to 2023. And then on line 267, after the word "year," we're going to insert the provisions of subsection C of section 22.1-253.13:3 of the Code of Virginia, as amended by this act, shall be implemented in each local school division in the Commonwealth during the 2021 to 2022 school year, with the following exception. The through-year growth assessment system shall include one beginning of year and one end of year assessment, but shall not include any mid-year assessment.
Move the amendments.
And second, that the amendments be agreed to. All in favor?
Aye.
Those have the same right. I want to preference any motions with the fact that this bill is going to go to finance.
Madam Chairman, I've moved the bill as amended and refer to finance.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported and referred to finance. All in favor, please designate on the electronic voting panel your yea or nay. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported and referred to finance. Senator Highsmith, 2105.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 2105 is patroned by Delegate Bulova, and this is regarding our early childhood education and the quality rating. It delays until 2022, the 2022-23 school year, the requirement that all publicly funded early childhood providers participate in quality rating and improvement, a system that will be established by the BOE by this July. And it's also delaying from fall 23 to the fall of 24 the publication of those initial quality ratings from these providers. And it's reinstating the School Readiness Committee and altering the composition and the work of that committee. And unless there's any questions for the patron, the subcommittee did recommend reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please respond on the voting panel. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Senator Highsmith, you have now 2176, going to page 5.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. HB 2176, patroned by Delegate Torian, is with regard to school board policies. Excuse me. It's defining for the purposes of mandatory school board policy that there be a that's with regard to abusive work environments, that the terms abusive conduct, abusive work environment, physical harm, and psychological harm be defined within their policies. And it clarifies that the requirement to adopt such policies are not to be construed to a limitation of the school board's authority to adopt policies that prohibit any other kind of workplace conduct as the school board may deem necessary. This subcommittee did recommend for reporting on a vote of two yes and 2 no. And I believe the delegate is here should the committee have any questions.
Madam Chair, I have a quick question.
Senator Edwards?
Yeah, to somebody. Why? I mean, if somebody doesn't understand the words, they can look it up in the dictionary. I don't understand why we're having to define words. I don't get it. Maybe somebody can explain it.
Highsmith.
If the delegate is here, I would ask that he respond to the senator's question.
Chairman Torian?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
I would say to the senator, I do not see any harm in providing the definition in the code. There's no harm in it, so that folks do not have to go look it up. We're providing it for them.
I'm sorry, what is that again? I missed what you said.
Madam Chair, I would say to the senator, he asked, his question was that if people wanted to know the terms and definitions, they can look them up themselves. And my response, Madam Chair, to him is that opposed to having folks to go and look up the definitions for themselves, we're simply providing them in the code for them so that they are readily available.
Well, Madam Chair, why do you need it, though? I mean, what is the harm? What are you trying to cure? What's the problem?
I guess we could say that about a lot of bills we introduced, Senator Edwards, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what the problem is you're trying to solve.
We're simply the bill that we passed back in 2018, HB 1046, did not have these clarifying definitions, and we feel that having these clarifying definitions in the code is important.
Senator Edwards, does that satisfy your question?
Not really, but go ahead.
Yes, sir. Madam Chair of the subcommittee, do you have a recommendation?
I move to report the bill. I move to report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported.
My apologies.
Clear the board, please. I think I heard someone asking a question. No? Okay. Close the roll.
Ayes 7, no 7.
Sasslaw, did you intend to vote?
Yeah,
Did you intend to vote?
I was trying to vote for him because I have his proxy, but I did.
Madam Chair, having voted on the prevailing side, I move we reconsider the vote by which it failed.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reconsidered. Clear the board. Open the roll. Yes, on reconsideration. Oh, sorry. This is on reconsideration, because that was a motion.
Reconsideration.
Reconsideration, yes. Okay, this is reconsideration. Thank you. 15-0. Now, the motion
My
is...
apologies.
Now,
Madam Chair, my apologies. I will put up reconsider right now. I had the wrong motion up.
okay, all right. This is reconsideration. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the motion with Senator Sasslaw wanting to vote. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please designate those.
Motion to report, ma'am?
Yes, motion to report.
Yes.
Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Senator Hospi made the motion. Senator Howell seconds. All in favor of the motion, please so designate. Close the roll.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7. The bill is reported. Thank you, Senator Torian. Delegate Torian. Chairman
Thank you, Madam
Torian.
Chair.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Madam Chair.
Senator Hashimi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is HB 2238, patroned by Delegate Corey, and this is directing our BOE to require that any private school for students with disabilities, as a condition for renewal of its initial license to obtain accreditation from an accrediting agency that's recognized by the Council of Private Education within 3 years of the initial triennial license that's been granted. So this is moving forward an accrediting ability for our private schools. And this bill reported out of committee on a vote of 5-0, and unless there's any questions for the patron, I so move.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 2238 be reported. All in favor of that motion or not, please designate on the electronic voting panel. Close the roll, please.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Delegate Corey.
Madam Chair, the next bill is HB 2299, patroned by Delegate Carr, and this bill is similar to Senator Donovan's bill, SB 1288. This is requiring the DOE to provide training and guidance documents to local school divisions on the development of IEPs for children with disabilities and to develop training modules for each individual who participates in an IEP meeting, with the exception of parents, to conduct structured reviews of a sample of IEPs from a sufficiently large sample. of the school divisions, just to verify that the IEPs are actually in compliance with our state laws as well as with our federal laws and the regulations. This is coming out of the recommendations from JLARC that we saw earlier or in late 2020. And I would ask that Senator Donovan speak to the differences between her bill and Delegate Carr's bill, and the patron is also available to answer questions.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Donovan.
I believe we recommended to conform this to my bill while we were in subcommittee, and that's really important because there are significant differences between our bills. My bill recommends that we adopt all of the JLARC recommendations, and this is such a critical time for us to actually commit to doing this right, especially with funding in the budget. This bill does not include all of those recommendations, and we'll need to have to settle this in conference if we can't settle it before. So this bill should be conformed to Senate Bill 1288.
First, I'd like to entertain a motion on conforming the bills, but before the next motion is made, this bill also has to go to finance.
If we conform it, I don't think we do.
Okay. But she said she did.
She said once it's conformed, I don't believe it needs to go to finance because we've already put money in the budget.
Okay. Then I need to have a motion to conform.
So moved.
Okay, it has been moved and properly second that House Bill 2299 be conformed to Senate Bill 1288. All in favor of that motion, please respond on the electronic voting panel. Aye. Aye. Okay. Now that it's conformed, now we'll entertain the motion on the bill.
Move.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported as conformed. All in favor, please designate. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported as conformed. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is HB 2305, patroned by Delegate Tyler, and this is addressing the issues with our governor schools. It's requiring our BOE to issue guidance on the governance of academic year governor schools, so it does not impact those schools that are not fully participating in the full academic year. And part of the guidance that will be included by the BOE is enhanced communication and outreach, evaluations of the admissions policies, and then clearer guidelines on the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion training. The bill requires that these guidance focus on the importance of increasing access to our governor schools for historically underserved students, and to include best practices as they've been revealed on the national level as well as in our own efforts to conduct information sessions about the school, the availability of gifted and advanced specialty education programs for our feeder public middle schools, and to strengthen the student pipeline to those middle schools, particularly in the areas of underserved and underrepresented students and their communities, and then also to conduct programs related to an evaluations of the diversity and equity issues that we find in our governor schools. And the committee did hear testimony in support of this bill. If I recall correctly, we did not have anyone speak in opposition to the bill, and the subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 3 with 1 no and 1 abstention. I move that we report the bill.
Thank you, Senator Heisman, but I understand that there are individuals in the chat room waiting to be heard on the bill, and so what I would...
I think we've...
Say again?
Madam Chairman.
Well, I'm responding to Senator Saslaw, who said that there were some individuals who said that they did not have an opportunity to respond. And so if...
My understanding, talking to them, was apparently when the House heard the bill...
Can you talk into the mic, Senator Saslaw?
When the House heard the bill, they did not allow any people who were opposed to the bill to speak. So I don't know whether there are people here.
I don't think that was the case on the Senate side.
On the Senate side, it was not, but they didn't. They said they didn't hook up because they thought our policy was the same, and that
Well,
they
Senator
wouldn't be.
Zaslow, quite honestly, I don't think there's anything we can do about that at this point.
Well, I understand there's about 20 of them waiting to speak.
Well, we are
and they
definitely
should
not
get-
going to hear 20
No,
people.
but they should get 3 minutes.
So we're only going to have one side speaking this morning?
Well, you already heard the other side, I assume.
Well, no, the full committee didn't hear the other side. Only the subcommittee heard the other side.
Madam Chair.
I'm having to recognize voices.
Madam Chair, this is Peterson.
Senator Peterson.
This is a huge issue in our community, and I'll make a couple points, and I think I'm going to sort of presume to speak on behalf of people that don't have a chance to speak. Thomas Jefferson High School has existed since 1985 in Fairfax County. It's been the #1 high school in the United States. It's an extraordinary high school. Its population is 80% minority. To put that in perspective, about half of the school-age population in Fairfax County is white.
Senator Peterson, for people who look like me, I would appreciate it if you would put a better definition to minority, because I know you're not talking about people who look like me, so could you please be more specific?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
The population is about 70% Asian
Thank
at
you.
Thomas Jefferson High School.
Mhm.
People look like my kids.
Right.
My kids.
Mhm.
And that is not based on any intentional policy that I'm aware of. It's just those are the kids that, for whatever reason, have qualified under the criteria that they've had, and that's become an issue in the community. Now, a lot of these children are immigrants, children of immigrants, and have focused on their academics, and they've done well. I am very concerned about passing policies which, for lack of a better word, I hear the word shaming a lot, that people that have been successful as immigrants are somehow overrepresented or overserved. I don't believe that's the case. So I have a lot of issues with this legislation. Now, I understand as well as anybody that we need to get different populations into our governor's schools, and I think there are ways to do it. I'm very concerned, though, the tone that has been set by this bill, and I'm not blaming anybody in particular. It's become a lightning rod, and it's been serving to stigmatize a very hardworking community in Fairfax County, which I'm proud to represent and be married into, and that's the Korean community, the Indian community, Bengali community, and so I have a lot of concerns, and I hope I have spoken, and I hope I've not left anybody out, but that's why I'm speaking. This is a big issue.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. Now I see names in the queue. I see Senator Donovan, Locke, and Hashmi. In that order, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I wanted to speak up because I had initially objected to hearing testimony if we'd already heard it in committee, but I do think that with Zoom calls, we're having a challenge in being inclusive with everybody being able to speak, and if people were deprived before, I would withdraw any objection I have and hope that both sides, if you want to hear, can speak today. But I don't want anybody to feel like they never got to speak at the legislature.
Thank you, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I participated in a work group every Friday for several weeks that listened to various constituencies dealing with the governor's schools, not just TJ, but every governor's school in this Commonwealth, listening to various people talk about the lack of diversity in these governor's schools. And it's not just the Asian community. We listen to students talk about their experiences in these schools or the lack thereof. And the issue at TJ actually came from students about the lack of diversity in their schools, and that they would like to have more diversity, but that there were problems in trying to get to that diversity, and that they want more. And that's what we kept hearing over and over and over again. But there's always this stonewalling, and we're hearing it here this morning from some of our own members sitting here. And that's what I'm concerned about.
Senator Hashmi, I think I'm coming to you next, but I sat with Senator Locke along with a host of other folks from all across the Commonwealth in those Friday meetings every Friday it seems like to me all through the summer and all through the fall. And I just can't reiterate more than what she's already stated. How often we heard from students who were looking to see other students who are not like themselves in these governor schools. With that, Senator Hashmi and then Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too was part of the work group, and as an Asian American, I listened closely to the debate and certainly heard from many families. Most of the families that I heard from were from the Northern Virginia area who are not my constituents. When I take a look at my constituents, primarily coming from Richmond City, from Chesterfield, I've had an outpouring of support from my constituents who are Maggie Walker Governor Schools alumni, and they are hugely supportive of the bill. In fact, I received only 3 emails in opposition to it, but countless emails in support of this measure. And they spoke passionately about the need for diversity, the need to expand our student population, and particularly the concerns that we have from our feeder schools. When we talk about a merit-based system, we understand that the inequity that is set up from early elementary school all the way through middle school prevents the students who would bring great diversity, great promise, and offer much to enhance our governor schools. They are excluded by the educational system, the educational inequities that we have in place. I find it personally offensive when people make the argument that increasing diversity is somehow going to lower the academic standards. Yes. That is simply not the case, and it is offensive to make that argument. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Howell and then Senator Saslow. We hear it all the time. We didn't say he said it's into the
If I could respond, who said that? That wasn't the emails that I received from a few folks who, and particularly from parents who made that argument regarding Thomas Jefferson. I did not say that committee members made that statement. My apologies if that was the implication that you received, Senator.
No, I think what Senator Suderline may have heard is a statement that Senator Locke made in that some of our own members are being the stonewalls that's keeping us from making the progress that we so desperately need.
I'll be happy to speak to that.
Could I please hear from the others in the queue, and I'll come back to you. Senator Howell, Saslow, and Donovan.
I was not on the committee that studied this for months and months, but it impacts my constituents quite a bit. And I think it is ludicrous that we have fewer than 20 African American and Latino students admitted to TJ. That's ludicrous from Fairfax County. It's insulting, I think, to people's intelligence if they would believe that. So I'm very supportive of this bill, and this has been a festering wound at our governor's school for many years, and it's time we lance it.
Senator Saslow, then Senator Donovan.
Okay. Madam Chairman, I don't think I'm the only one in this room, but I can tell you my emails ran almost 20 or 30 to 1 against what we're proposing to do here, overwhelmingly against it. And let me give you an idea of the percentage breakdown of the 4 or 5 municipalities that feed the school versus the breakdown that's in it. The Asian and the areas that feed it, jurisdictions, are Arlington, Fairfax County, Fairfax City, Prince William County, Manassas Park, and Loudoun County. They are approximately 61% Caucasian. The Caucasians in that school are 19%. The Asian community is about 16%. They are 70% of the school. The rest would be Latino and African American, and they would be the remaining percentages. And many of these are parents a large percentage, who came here as immigrants and have done everything they can to improve their situation, and they consider this bill highly offensive.
Senator Sasslaw, I noticed that you lumped Latinos and African Americans together. But anyway.
No, I think I said minorities.
No, you specifically said.
There. Okay.
No, it was right up on the screen. I was reading as you were speaking.
There are only two other.
I was reading as you were speaking. Senator Donovan?
Madam Chairman, in all sincerity, it seems like the demand for this academic experience is enormous and the supply is lacking. Virginia ought to open up charter schools so that every child in Virginia has the opportunity to be able to participate in an advanced academic experience like this.
Senator Donovan, I hear your statement, but we're not talking about charter schools right now. We're talking about the governor's schools.
Just offering an alternative solution,
I hear
Madam
you.
Chairman.
I hear you. Madam, can I go back to the subcommittee chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The subcommittee recommended reporting, and I move to report the bill.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported.
I have a substitute motion.
Substitute motion?
Is to pass by indefinitely.
Second.
You've heard the substitute motion to pass by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please respond electronically. No.
Vote no, Edwards.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. The bill does not report. Thank you for standing by, Delegate Tyler. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We'll overcome one day.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't know either.
The next bill is HB 2316, patroned by Delegate King, and this bill is regard to our special education and services for students with disabilities. It requires the DOE to update special education eligibility worksheets and clarify any ambiguity or vagueness in the eligibility criteria, and to provide the local school divisions with appropriate level of guidance so that they can make appropriate decisions. And this particular bill reported out of committee on a vote of 4-0, and unless there's any questions for the patron, I so move.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
I'm sorry, I had my mic off because I didn't want to say something inappropriate. But it's been moved and probably second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion or not, designate on the voting panel. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, that concludes the report of the Public Education Subcommittee.
Thank you so much, Senator High-Speed. Now we will go to bills that were heard in Health Professions Subcommittee.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't know whether I'm welcome or not, but go ahead.
All right. There are 7 bills that were handled in the Health Professions Subcommittee.
I hate you.
And even I should be able to handle this load. All 7 were approved unanimously. There were no votes, no abstentions, and actually even in the House, 6 of the 7 were unanimous, and the other one had only 2 negative votes. We'll start with House Bill 1747, which is from Delegate Adams. This bill would take one of the 4. Right now there are 4 advanced practice nurses, and 3 of the 4 have separate licensure. The 4th one is clinical nurse specialist, and what's proposed is provide separate licensure for that categorization as well. They would transition to licensure as a clinical nurse specialist, and would be supervised by the boards of medicine and a board of nursing. That's basically the sum of substance of the bill. And the subcommittee recommends reporting on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
You've heard the motion. All in favor of the motion? I heard a motion and a second. All in favor of reporting House Bill 1747. Designate yea or nay on the electronic voting board. Please close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Yes, next bill is House Bill 1894 from Delegate Corey. It deals with a couple of categories of employees at the Department of Juvenile Justice, and says that when those individuals have a proper training and are certified, that they would be able to possess and administer naloxone or other opioid antagonists for overdose reversal. The subcommittee considered this and recommends reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
You've heard the motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 1894 be reported. All in favor of that motion or not, designate on electronic voting panel. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Thank you. Next bill is the House Bill 1988 from Delegate Adams. This deals with the Board of Pharmacy and pharmaceutical processors, and it's focused on processing and dispensing of cannabis oils and reporting there. This bill allows written certifications for use of cannabis oil to include electronic practitioner signature, and eliminates the requirement that the pharmacists have direct oversight of the cultivation and processing of the pharmaceutical process. And it directs it would empower the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate regulations implementing the provisions of the bill, and solicit input from stakeholders and appropriate agencies of the Commonwealth to develop the regulations and potential additional legislation that might be proposed. The subcommittee recommend reporting with a substitute on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 1988 be reported with a substitute. All in favor of that motion or not, please designate on the electronic voting panel. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker, House Bill 2039.
Yes, House Bill 2039 is from Delegate Rasool. It deals with the practice as a physician assistant. Physician assistants are in many ways somewhat comparable to nurse practitioners, but they work directly under a physician at all times, so there's no independent practice that is provided under the physician assistant licensure. And part of what is done here with this bill is to allow a physician assistant to have agreements with more than one physician or patient care team to participate. This bill was recommended by the subcommittee for reporting on a vote of 6-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported. Vote, record your yeas and nays on the electronic voting panel.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
All right, the next bill is House Bill 2079. This is also from Delegate Rasool. This deals with pharmacists and the initiation of treatment and use of certain drugs and devices. What this does is it provides clarity and specific permission to the licensed pharmacist to and be involved in a number of things, including administration of vaccines, to deal with tuberculosis stuff, to deal with controlled substances for HIV, and various drugs, devices, and controlled paraphernalia. This bill was recommended for reporting on a vote of 7-0, and I so move.
Second.
You've heard the motion. You heard a second. All in favor? Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
All right, the next bill is House Bill 2116. It's from Delegate Mugler, and it basically deals with the declared states of emergency and essential workers and funeral service licenses, and provides that the Board of Health or the Commissioner of Health, when they've made an emergency order or regulation, for the purpose of suppressing nuisance or dangerous actions to the public health or communicable contagious diseases, or the governor has declared a state emergency, that persons employed by a funeral service establishment or a public medical examination facility shall be considered essential workers and be included in any group afforded priority with regard to PPE and administration of vaccines. This bill does have an emergency clause. The subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported. All in favor?
Madam Chair, this bill does have a substitute that came out of subcommittee.
Okay, sorry about that.
Senator Barker, you want to?
I'll
Let's
move, I'll
reverse.
move the substitute.
It's been moved and properly second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes. Okay. Senator Barker.
Then back to the motion, the subcommittee recommended reporting of the substitute. It does say that here. I'm sorry I didn't read
Yes,
that
you got it right this time.
on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported with the substitute. All in favor of that motion or not on the vote on the electronic panel? Thank you. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Senator Barker, you have House Bill 2220.
Yes, House Bill 2220, put forward by Delegate Hayes. This deals with the categorization of individuals as surgical technologists. There's been sort of an evolution of that over the last 5 to 10 years, basically professionalizing the surgical technologists, who are individuals who have basic training and are support personnel within the operating room in many surgery cases that are there. There's been provided some title protection, and that will be added here because it says that no one should hold him or herself out to be a surgical technologist or assume that that title of surgical technologist or certified surgical technologist unless the person is certified by the Board of Medicine. And right now, you have to be registered with the Board of Medicine. What this does is it moves it into a higher category where they're basically it's moving to the intermediate category between just registered and having a separate licensure category. The subcommittee recommended reporting on another 8-0 vote on this bill, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported. All in favor or not? Vote on the electronic voting panel. Please close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Senator Barker, thank you for your report. Moving to the Health Subcommittee report.
Yes, Madam Chair, we took up House Bill 1831 with Delegate Head. Madam Chair, this bill directed the Board of Health to include in regulations governing home care organizations a provision for supervision of at-home care attendants by a licensed nurse through the personal care service by a licensed nurse through use of interactive audio or video technology. So, Madam Chair, as the synopsis indicates, this passed the House 99-0. It also passed the House committee unanimously. And Delegate Head presented his bill, and then Senator Barker was not present. And then we also, there was public comment from just from the governor's office, and we had to reopen the roll, retake the vote, and Senator Barker voted nay. And then we heard from the governor's office, and they were adamantly opposed to the legislation, to put it mildly. Yeah, and then it took them the entire passage through the House process before they developed a position on the bill, but they became adamantly opposed when it got over here, apparently, and Delegate Head was able to respond. We also heard from the home care professionals organization in support of Delegate Head's legislation. And Madam Chair, I know it's a subcommittee report, but because of the controversy that ensued, Delegate Head is available, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll hear from the committee first. Any questions from any member of the committee since the bill has already been heard in subcommittee? We operate on the motion?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I would move to report.
Been properly second that the bill be reported.
Madam
Any
Chair.
comment from any member of the committee?
Madam Chair, Senator Barker here.
Senator Barker.
Yes, just to explain my no vote on this and to build on what Senator Lewis represented at the meeting. The Department of Health is basically opposed to portion of this bill, and that the main criticism and concern that they've had is the supervision that is provided to the home care personnel, who is persons who are doing basic things, including helping with activities of daily living. And what they they've looked over the last 2 years and identified a substantial number of complaints and issues that had to be dealt with in terms of provision of care. And a high percentage of those in 1 year, one of the 2 years, it was 58% of the complaints and the disciplinary actions that were taken were related to supervision. So there's a real concern that just supervision on the telephone is inadequate and does not provide appropriate protection for the persons who are receiving the care.
Madam Chair, this is Delegate Head. If I might be able to respond to that.
Yes, please do.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to present to you today. And in the event that I am there and not able to answer adequately, I know that Marcy Tedderton, who's the Executive Director for the Virginia Association of Home Care and Hospice, is also here with us this morning. But the presentation that we had from the Department of Health when they came in late to the game, the difficulty is that they presented information that combined some things that should not have been combined. The statistics about complaints were related to skilled care and not to non-skilled care, first of all. And also, that is the concern that we have with this particular section of the legislation. What this bill does, to give you the lowdown on this, is a deal only with those portions of home care that are providing personal care services. The first section of the bill deals with provision of that supervision by a licensed nurse rather than an RN. This has been the standard practice and we even have a letter from the department that dates back 11 years authorizing this, although they have never gotten around to revising the regulations anytime in that entire process. So this is a standard practice of supervision. The second thing has to do with supervisory visits through the utilization of telehealth, and the verbiage of utilizing supervisory visits for telehealth mirrors what we have seen, first of all, in other sections of the code for other portions of the healthcare community, and also mirrors what we have seen in the Medicare side of home care provision for these same services, and has off and on in some fashion or other for upwards of 20 years. So this is not anything particularly new. And on the part of the Office of Licensure and Certification, the personnel there that have expressed concerns about it have been apparently confusing the difference between a supervisory visit and an assessment visit. Those are two separate categories in regulation. Assessment visits have to be performed in person, but supervisory visits frequently are not directly to the person providing care, but oftentimes are visits that are done when the aide is not there, so that you can talk with the family members and talk with the person receiving care themselves. And frequently that's just a lot easier to do, far less invasive, and you get more opportunity for response when you can do that telephonically. So that's really what this bill does. Again, I think Ms. Tedderton is here as well. If you'd like to hear from her, might be able to add some additional clarification. But again, this is nothing new. Further, I will tell you that the supervision by telehealth has been in place for this particular segment since the COVID crisis began. And we've had absolutely no incidences that I am aware of any problem with it whatsoever. And again, the supervision by LPNs has been something that's been done for the last 11 years, and the scope of practice and the survey guidelines are based around that already. This just simply codifies this and the things that have been standard practice for a while now. But Again, I think Ms. Tedderton is here. If you could hear from her, she might be able to add a couple of thoughts to that to help you clarify this issue.
Did we have a motion?
I think we did, Madam Chair.
Okay. I want to hear from from one more speaker, please. He referred to a speaker who can give some more clarification.
Marcia Tedderton is a panelist in the room, Madam Chair.
Marsha Pelleton, please join us.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. We asked Delegate Head to introduce this legislation because we have been working with the Office of Licensure and Certification for 15 years on this particular issue. And as he stated, 11 years ago, they issued a blanket waiver that would allow home care private duty agencies to provide supervision by a licensed nurse, along with some other issues. We've asked them at least 4 times to update the regulations, and that has not occurred to include this provision. Currently, surveyors abide by this letter, and there have, to my knowledge, there never been any issues. There is no public safety or health risk that is put in jeopardy with this particular bill. We are trying to do things as efficiently at high quality levels as possible, and we ask the committee to please move the legislation forward. I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marsha. I appreciate you being here this morning to respond to that question. Thank you. There is a motion on the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair. I think it was. I can't remember if it was seconded or not, but I made the motion to report.
Probably second that the bill be reported. Either yay or nay on electronic voting board. Close roll.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we took up Delegate Ayala's bill, House Bill 1950, which is a very important bill. It directs the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner to convene a work group to develop a plan for establishment of a fetal and infant mortality review team and to report such plan to the Chairman of the House Committees on Appropriations and Health, Welfare, and Institutions and the Senate Committee on Finance and Appropriations and Education and Health by December 1st, 2021. So we heard the presentation. And then it was recommended by the subcommittee that the bill be reported on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
Second. It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion? Close roll. Thank you.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Senator Lewis.
Yep. Next, Madam Chair, we took up Delegate Bagby's 1963, which dealt with the funding of local health departments, and it provided that how local health departments were to be funded, and funds may be allocated for the operation for the healthcare department with local matching funds based on the local revenues, the ability of the locality to generate revenues. The amount of the local matching funds for which a county or city would be responsible is based on that county or city's revenue generation capacity, and that is defined in the bill. But in no case shall that amount be greater than 45% or less than 18%. The bill also provides for a biennial review of the locality's revenue generating capacity and adjustment of the cost share. And that is the bill, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
And Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, a question to the chairman. I'm just not sure. In some localities, the local health departments are what called deviating agencies. They're different, right? They have their own deal and they get a different funding. Did the subcommittee discuss the impact on deviating agencies?
No, Senator Newman, I will say we did not discuss the impact on deviating. There was some discussion about the varied impacts on different localities, but not on deviating. We did not. And I don't know if Delegate I doubt he's in the room.
Could you please check to see if Delegate Bagley, Chairman Bagley is in the room, chat room?
Madam Chair, he is in the room.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Delegate Bagley, please, before his bill gets sandbagged.
Yes, Madam Chair, I am here as well as the Deputy Secretary of Health.
Could you please begin the discussion, Delegate Bagley? Then I'd like to hear from the Secretary of Health. Thank you.
Yes, I haven't had any discussion on, I believe it was Senator Newman just mentioned or just shared a question, and I don't have the answer to that.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman?
Madam Chair, I'm just a truth seeker here. I mean, I'm not opposed to the bill. Matter of fact, I think there's some value in the bill. I just want to make sure that it's not going to impact, maybe if the department can help, and if not, if it's going to go to finance, is that the anticipation?
No, it is not.
Okay. No. If not, then, well, maybe the good senator could answer. Senator Barker.
Well, before I go to Senator Barker, I'd like to hear from the Health Department, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair. It's Vanessa Walker-Harris, Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Resources. I don't have a specific answer to the Senator's question, but happy to provide that in follow-up, and did just want to convey the administration's strong support for this legislation, and thanks for Delegate Bagby presenting it for the committee's consideration.
Thank you for being with us this morning. Senator Barker.
Yes, Madam Chair and Senator Newman. There are 35 health districts around the state. There's a health department for each of those, a local health department. 33 of the 35 right now are basically part of the state system, so that the state does direct supervision. 2 right now have some quasi-independent status. Those are Arlington and Fairfax County right now. And there is, we did pass legislation in the Senate earlier in the session, or actually in the previous session, this year, to add Loudoun County to that has their somewhat independence. Those 2 that the Arlington and Fairfax ones provide a lot of additional county funding that goes well beyond what would be required on the 45%. So they develop more extensive services in many instances. They do cooperate and participate with the state in many things, but they do have some independent status. And right now, the one category where that's been noted is that, well, the state has moved to a statewide system for scheduling the vaccine visits and everything. Fairfax County had already developed its own system, which was functioning much better than the state system, and they maintain that one system just to sign their people up there.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I have no desire to make this or hold the bill up or in any way be harmful to it, but I guess maybe between now and then, Lynchburg is a deviating agency. We're treated differently, and I don't know how many others fall in that category. I just want to make sure that how it works. So without desiring to hurt the bill, I may have just abstained just until we get the answer on that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, Senator Peake.
Senator Peake.
A question to the patron or maybe the administration. What exactly are we trying to do here? What is the issue that we are solving, and what has the problem been?
I think the statement was made by the Health Department. Could she please come back on the line, because she asked for Delegate Bagley to introduce this bill. Could you please come back on the line and explain why you asked for this bill to be introduced in the first place again?
Yes, Madam Chair. Happy to provide a response. The formula by which we provide funding out to our local health districts has not been reviewed since 1954. And we know that over that course of time, there's been changes in the financial status of our localities. And our aim with this bill is to reflect that, so that the localities are able to use their current revenue generation to appropriately support the mission and work of our local health districts. The way we've formed the bill is that we have existing funding in the budget for the first year of transition, so that districts are held harmless. We expect that a little over 50 of our districts may receive a decrease in funding over time, and the remainder would have an increase in funding. That decrease is around about 10%, and the increase would be around 6%. And we're very much looking forward to the opportunity to review this on a regular basis, which is similar to how Department of Education sets up their review of funding, so that we can use current data to appropriately support our local health districts.
Does that satisfy the reason why this bill was introduced?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming back on the line. Senator
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Lewis.
I would. It was the committee's recommendation on a vote of four ayes and 1 abstention that the bill be reported, and I would so move.
You've heard the motion? You've heard a second. Please designate your preference on the electronic voting board. Please close the roll.
Ayes 12, noes 2, abstentions 1.
Ayes 12, noes 2, extension 1. The bill is reported. Thank you very much for coming on this morning, Delegate Bagley.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up House Bill 1976, which was Delegate Willett's bill. It dealt with the Virginia Health Workforce Development Authority. So it added to the mission of the authority, developing strategies to increase diversity in health workforce by examining demographic data on race and ethnicity and training programs and health professional licensure, identifying ways to leverage technology to increase access to health workforce training and care delivery, and developing a centralized healthcare careers roadmap in partnership with the Department of Health Professions. It increased from 3 to 5 the number of members representing health professions or employers or representatives of health professionals on the board of directors of the authority, and removed the requirement that the chairman and vice chairman of the board be legislative members. It adds the chief workforce development officer to the list of officials and entities to whom the board reports biannually on the activities and recommendations of the authority. And we heard the presentation from Delegate Willett. As I recall, there was no public testimony either for or against, and it was the recommendation of the subcommittee that the bill be reported 5-0, and I so move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Designate your preference on electronic voting board. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up Delegate Adams' House Bill 1987. This bill dealt with telemedicine and required the Board of DMAS to amend the state plan for medical assistance to provide for payment of medical assistance for remote patient monitoring services provided via telemedicine for certain high-risk patients. It made clear that nothing shall preclude health insurance carriers from providing coverage for service delivered through real-time, audio-only telephone services that are not telemedicine, and clarifies rules around prescribing Schedule II and Schedule 6 drugs via telemedicine, including establishing a practitioner-patient relationship via telemedicine. This bill was conformed, or was recommended to be conformed with Senator Barker's Senate Bill 1338, and then reported. And so I would move, first of all, I would move the substitute that conforms 1887 to Senator Barker's 1338, Madam Chair.
You've heard the motion on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. And before you entertain a motion, Senator Lewis, this bill has been requested by Finance.
That's correct, Madam Chair. And
Okay.
so my motion would be that, based on the subcommittee's recommendation.
Senator Locke, I'm sorry, Senator Howell said once the bill is conformed, it does not need to go to Finance. So you
It's
can
already
drop.
been
Yes,
Finance.
right,
Okay.
so you can drop that portion of
Okay,
it.
will do. All right, so my motion then, based on this recommendation from the subcommittee of 5-0, is that the bill, bill as in the form of a substitute be recommended reporting. And I so move.
It's been moved
Second.
and second that the bill be reported. All in favor or not, designate on the electronic voting panel. Please close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. Senator Lewis.
Next, we took up, Madam Chair, Delegate Sickles' Bill 2007, which deals with prescription drug prices and transparency, and basically directs the Department of Health to enter into a contract with a nonprofit data services organization to collect, compile, and make available on its website information about prescription drug pricing, and requires every health carrier, pharmacy benefits manager, and drug manufacturer to report information to prescription drug prices to that data gathering service to be posted on the website. And the bill provides that in any case in which the department determines that data reported by those individuals and organizations is insufficient, the department may require wholesale distributors to report certain data about prescription drug costs. The bill has a delayed effective date of January 1, 2022, and I believe there was an amendment that we adopted or recommended adopting in the subcommittee, and I would move that amendment.
You've heard the motion on the amendment. All in favor of agreeing to the amendment, please say aye or nay. Aye. Nays have the same right. Senator Lewis.
Now, Madam Chair, based on the presentation of Delegate Sickles, it was the recommendation of the subcommittee. Now, Madam Chair, I will inquire of Senator Howe. This one had a finance designation too. Does that still need to go to?
Yes, it didn't have a companion, so
Okay.
it hasn't been to finance yet.
Okay. So the recommendation of the subcommittee would be that it be reported and re-referred to Finance and Appropriations, and I would so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported and be referred to finance. All in favor of that motion or not, please designate on the electronic voting panel. Please close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported and referred to finance. Senator Lewis.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up House Bill 2061, Delegate Willett's House Bill 2061 regarding Virginia's immunization information system, and it requires any health care provider in the Commonwealth that administers immunizations to participate in the system and report patient immunization history and information to the system. Under current law, participation is optional for authorized healthcare entities. Now, the individual being immunized, as I understand the bill, Madam Chair, can still opt out, but it has to be, but the provider cannot. This bill has a delayed effective date of January 1, 2022.
Right.
And we heard from Delegate Willett, and I believe we had public input on this one, Madam Chair, as I recall. And it was the recommendation of the subcommittee that the bill be reported 3-1, and I so move.
It's been moved and second.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, just a question to the chairman. Is this the same system that struggled a bit during the current pandemic, but they are going to continue to use it for regular?
That's my understanding. That's my understanding, Senator Newman.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Senator Newman. Okay, there is a motion. It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate on electronic voting panel. Nays have the same right. Close roll.
Ayes 12, noes 2, abstentions 1.
Ayes 12, noes 2, abstention 1. The bill is reported. Senator?
Next, Madam Chair, we dealt with Delegate Lopez's 2124, dealt with the Department of DMAS and testing for treatment and vaccination of COVID emergency services, and it directed the Department of DMAS to, during a health emergency related to COVID, declared by the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, deemed testing for treatment and vaccination against COVID to be emergency services for which payment may be made pursuant to federal law for certain aliens not lawfully admitted for permanent residence. Obviously the bill speaks for itself, and it's my understanding, I think Senator Barker may have some information on this, there was some understanding that there would, since it was reliant upon the declaration by the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, that the funding might not be an issue for that. Is that correct, Senator Barker?
Madam Chair?
Senator Barker?
Yes. Yes. First of all, there's most of the services that are being provided related to the pandemic are free and available. Vaccinations are free for everybody who does not have coverage for that. And in addition, I did have asked Delegate Lopez to check, and he's verified that other states are able to receive the reimbursement under the emergency Medicaid program for anything that is done that would not be covered under the program, so the pandemic program. So therefore, this is basically funded through the federal government for these short-term services.
All right. So, Madam Chair, based upon the presentation of Delegate Lopez, the subcommittee recommended reporting 3-1 and also reporting and referring to finance. And so I so move.
You've heard the motion to report and refer to finance, and Senator Howell seconds. All in favor of that motion? Close roll.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you for being with us, Delegate Lopez.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up Delegate Adams' House Bill 2154, which directs the Board of Health to amend regulations governing hospitals, nursing homes, and certified nursing facilities to require each hospital, nursing home, and certified facility to establish and implement policies to ensure permissible access to the use of an intelligent personal assistant. We're talking Alexa and all the other personal assistants mechanized computer personal assistants out there by the patient while receiving inpatient services. And it goes on to define intelligent personal assistant as a combination of electronic device and a specialized software application designed to assist users with basic tasks using a combination of natural language and combinations known as digital assistants, virtual assistants, again, Alexa, Siri, all the Google stuff. And it was recommended reporting 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up Delegate Tran's House Bill 2162, requiring every medical care facility to allow a person with a disability who requires assistance as a result of such disability to be accompanied by a designated support person who will provide support and assistance necessary to this specific person's disability. The bill defines person with a disability and designated support system. It provides that a designated support person shall not be subject to restrictions on visitation adopted by the medical care facility, authorizes the medical care facility to restrict a designated support person's access to specified areas within that facility, and the bill requires every medical care facility to adopt protocols to inform patients of their rights to be accompanied by a designated support person. The bill contains an emergency clause and directs the Board of Health to adopt emergency regulations within 280 days of the bill's enactment. We heard some public input on this, Madam Chair, from folks who had incidents in medical facilities where had they had such a person available, the outcome would have been much better for the patient and the individual, and it was based on Delegate Tran's presentation, the public comment. The subcommittee recommended reporting 5-0, and I so move.
Madam Chairman.
It's been moved and probably second. Who am I hearing from? Senator Cosgrove?
Yes, thank you. I'd ask the chairman. Currently in hospitals, they're not allowing visitors because of the COVID situation. Is this going to affect or impact the hospital's ability to enforce that type of rule?
Delegate Cosgrove, we did not discuss the COVID restrictions in regard to this. I will say that the bill, while it has an emergency clause and directs the Department of Health to adopt emergency regulations within 280 days of the bill's enactment. So hopefully the large part of those restrictions will be behind us by the time this comes an issue. I don't know if Delegate Tran's in the room.
Madam Chair, this is Delegate Tran.
Madam Chairman, I'm not going to try to hurt the bill. I'll
Madam
probably
Chairman, I can
abstain until we can
respond.
figure out.
Madam Chairman, I'm happy to respond if you want.
And Madam Chair, this is Delegate Tran. I'm also here.
Delegate Tran, it's your bill. I'd like to hear from you, please.
Great, thank you so much. To respond to the senator, hospitals are able to put in place policies that could keep patients safe. So in the pandemic, they would be able to enforce any type of restrictions as needed. Just to remind the body that in the biannual budget that we passed during special session, there was actually a budget amendment that was a little bit broader than this bill. So this policy is currently in place right now, and the Department of Health has been working with VHHA to make sure that it's implemented in a safe way during COVID. And also VHHA and I work together through this bill as well to address their concerns.
Thank you.
And I will say, Delegate Cosgrove, the hospitals did indicate their support during the public comment process, too.
Thank you.
Delegate?
Did I say delegate? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Ooh. Ouch.
That's okay. Guess what? I've been called a whole lot worse. And will be called sooner than later again. Senator Dummett, do you have anything that you can add that will be helpful?
Just that there are established hospital policy already for visitors, and it was only in some hospitals in extreme circumstances that visitors were denied. This is a big safety initiative. These children, when they're isolated, or adults, when they're isolated and without anybody that they know, they're actually a much bigger safety risk. So this is absolutely compliant with best practices for COVID and really important for these individuals.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Reluctantly, Senator Saslaw. No, go ahead.
I would, if it's not ready by now, I would assume shortly that they will have the ability to test and have the results within 15 to 20 minutes or less. And certainly by the time this, I think, would kick in, even though I think it's got an emergency clause, I would think the problem would resolve itself.
The motion was? The motion is to move, is to report, and we did get a second. All in favor? Senator Lewis, do you have one more bill?
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Yes,
Senator
ma'am.
Lewis, you have one more bill?
One more bill by Delegate Delaney, House Bill 2300. This is a fairly important measure too, Madam Chair. Body will recall, the committee will recall, I think we had similar legislation from Senator Vogel last year, resulting from a tragedy in her district and a constituent who had a crisis after being released from an emergency room, and actually his significant other testified in public comment on this particular bill. So what this bill does is require each hospital with an emergency department shall include provisions for appropriate screening and assessment of individuals experiencing substance use related emergencies and recommendations for follow-up care. And that may include the dispensing of naloxone or other opioid antagonists used for overdose reversal and issuance of a prescription for naloxone and information about accessing naloxone at a community pharmacy. These protocols may include referrals to peer recovery specialists and community-based providers of behavioral health sciences or providers of pharmacotherapy for the treatment of drug or alcohol dependence. The bill also convenes a work group with the Department of Health and the Department of Health Professions to develop recommendations for best practices for treatment and discharging these individuals from emergency departments. And then the bill goes on with recommendations for best practices related to and performing substance use assessments, prescribing and dispensing naloxone, connecting patients treated for opioid-related emergencies with community substance abuse resources, and identifying barriers to and developing solutions to increase the availability and dispensing of naloxone and other opioid antagonists. The bill provides that hospitals in the Commonwealth may enter into agreements with the Department of Health for the provision to uninsured persons of naloxone or other opioid antagonists used for overdose reversal. So, again, we heard public comment on this. It was a lot of support, and I don't think there was anybody in opposition to it. And there was recognition of the subcommittee on a vote of 5-0 that the bill be recommended to the committee for reporting, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2300 be reported. With the amendment.
Madam Chair, there were.
I'm sorry. Yes, Madam
Did
Chair.
we need to deal with the amendment first, Senator Lewis?
There were amendments. I would move the amendments, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and second that the amendments be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No, same right. Senator Lewis for a motion.
And then I would recommend the bill be reported as amended, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor or not, please designate on the electronic voting panel. Close the roll. Yes. Senator Cosgrove's light's not working. Could you record him?
Senator Cosgrove, how do you vote? How do you vote, sir? Your vote will be noted. Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. House Bill 2300 is reported with amendments.
That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lewis. I will inquire of the clerk. Does that complete the calendar?
Madam Chair, that completes the docket.
There being no further business, the committee will rise.